kind of job would be more important than making kids safe? I mean, how important? I mean, that speaks for itself. One of the misconceptions that people have as far as CPS work goes is everything is negative. We're the bad guys. We snatch kids and don't give them back. And that's just not true at all. Characteristics of a good CPS worker, in my opinion, would be, first of all, someone who is very resilient, consistent, someone who is professional, yet flexible enough to deal with families on their level.
Sometimes I struggle with feeling that I'm out there saving the world or helping these other family while I'm maybe neglecting my own at home. So now that's probably the toughest for me. You do think that it's very scary thinking that I'm the CPS worker knocking on the doors, and I remember myself thinking, you know, how scary is this? I'm the single female by myself alone knocking on the door, and what's these people going to think of me? And one of the things that I think of how individuals relate to the police. They show a lot of respect. So I do find that people within the community, they respect a Child Protective Service worker.
Sometimes we get individuals who think this is more like a law enforcement mode and they want to investigate. We're not law enforcement, we're not attorneys. We are social workers and we're here to assess people when people have problems, and it's our job to help them with whatever problem it is.
The job is monumentally important. Their job is one to look after the health, safety, and welfare of disadvantaged, dysfunctional children from dysfunctional, poor families for the most part. And they have to understand that it's a job that isn't a 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever. These people, CPS workers, they're on duty 24/7. They get called out all hours of the night.
I guess your honest desire needs to be to help people, help families, or help children. And if you have that desire to help someone, you do make a difference. I mean, oftentimes you may not feel that you're making a difference in these families' lives. You truly are.
As a CPS worker, your responsibilities are endless. You're responsible for the basic case management, overseeing the case, and maintaining contact with everyone that's involved in the case, not just the children, not just the parents. You have attorneys, you have service providers, you may have medical professionals, school personnel. There are a lot of people involved in each case. The CPS worker may be responsible for transportation, transporting to visits, making sure the children get to the doctor, ensuring that all of their basic needs are met, that everything is okay, the foster home is safe, making sure that they're taking care of their home, maintaining monthly contact with them, whether they're right here in our county or if they're in Atlanta, Georgia, or if they're in Florida, Michigan, seeing every child every month, regardless of where they are. We're supposed to see the parents every month, even if they're in separate homes, reporting to the court at least every 90 days, if not more often. Cases are reviewed. The workers will have MDT meetings, multidisciplinary treatment team meetings, prior to every court hearing, and they'll meet with all the participants in a case, review the case, discuss the status of the case, make recommendations to the court, provide that in the form of a report to the judge prior to the hearing, testify. They may need to testify. They may need to prepare treatment plans, case plans.
Most of the people we deal with in abuse and neglect and that CPS workers deal with, they come from homes who have very little income. They have meager living resources. The pictures you see of them, they sleep on chairs and couches. The clothing is piled up.
So you could have the extent of mild to severe in dirtiness home. You could have mental illness. You may be dealing with criminals, domestic violence, drug use. We see a lot of that. Majority of the time you do see these families, they have a multitude of problems. It's usually not just one problem, it's a multitude, a combination of them all. I would say that a case that comes to mind for me is definitely sexual abuse. When you have children that you're investigating, looking whether or not that has been something that's happened to them, and oftentimes children do not make a disclosure with that information, so it makes it very tough and very trying. And specifically a case that I had worked, there happened to be video internet pornography. So had we not had that information, the individuals would have clearly got away with the crime that they had committed, but because of that, and knowing that that information existed and the police were able to apprehend that and get the individuals, we were able to make sure that that child was protected and clearly not around those individuals. I think I struggled a little bit thinking that when you come fresh into this job that you're going to save the world and make sure that every family is picture perfect, and in reality that's not going to happen. I mean, in reality you're going to be working with different families, different ethnic groups, meeting lots of different people. You're going to be working with the community. I know you develop a lot of strong relationships with attorneys and police and judge. You have that working relationship with the community, which I think is very important for myself. You know, you feel like you are somebody in the community. People do respect you and in the job that you do.
The support that I get to do the work I do comes a lot from my coworkers. You know, I think that a lot of the areas in West Virginia have really tight groups within their counties, within their regions, and workers can rely on each other for assistance. Whenever you have to remove a kid, usually everybody gets together, works on that together, so you're not doing that all alone.
Just as a child protective service worker, I never make decisions on my own. There is a supervisor that, you know, I'm relating the information to, that is guiding and steering me along the way as far as to, you know, she may have questions for me, asking me, knowing whether or not I did the right thing, and then she's helping me to make those decisions.
You know, unfortunately, sometimes we deal with the ugliness of the world. Anytime you hurt a child, it's not a fun thing to deal with. But they're there. They're the only ones that truly know what each other go through. They're on call with each other. They go out. Sometimes we spend more times with them than we do our own family. So it becomes like a second family. A supervisor, you know, you're a little bit of manager of all things. You know, you have to make sure that everything's taken care of as far as caseload and things like that, but then you also have to worry about your workers. I mean, they're human beings as well, and they have families and they have stress levels. So I think it's very important for a supervisor to get to know each worker that they have, to get to know their strengths and limitations and maybe their weaknesses and what they're vulnerable in, and help them. You know, I've always tried to be a guide or a role model for my unit. You know, I've taken cases before. I went to court and taken them with me. I just don't delegate stuff out. I believe in setting an example and just having them, you know, follow. So I think it's important for a supervisor to really know their workers and know what they're good at and where they would best fit in the Child Protective Service area.
There's opportunity to move up. There's opportunity for education. There's opportunity for learning. You know, you can go to school. You can also, you know, participate in trainings statewide and even outside of the state, where you can learn all kinds of different things about social work, about people, and just a lot of opportunity.
This agency does give you the opportunity to go back and further your education, in which I did take advantage of that. So they paid for that for me to get my master's on a part-time basis, and they paid for the tuition and also gave you a stipend to live off for a monthly allowance there. So I mean, that's definitely a bonus that this Department of Health and Human Resources gives you, that opportunity to further your education, which I think is great.
The goal of a CPS worker is to ensure child safety, permanency, well-being, keep the family together if at all possible, work with the family, but child safety is paramount.
The main goal is to assess and make sure that a child is safe and in surroundings. Whether, like I said, it's with mom, dad, aunt, uncle, whoever it may be, as long as that child is safe in the home, that's really all that matters to us. You know, we may not be able to fix every problem they have, but if they're able to keep the children safe and do what they need to, and the children are not going to be harmed in any way, and the family unit can stay intact, that's really the most important goal for us.
My goal as far as on the intake side of things is making sure children are safe. So assessing the whole big picture and making sure that the children, when I leave that home, those children are safe. So as far as, you know, that's something I'm looking at, and if the children are giving me information or the family's giving me information, or for whatever reasons I feel those children are in any danger, it's my job to make sure that I'm looking at how I can control safety for those kids.
You know, sometimes workers will go out and there may be 10 to 12 individuals in one home. If the worker doesn't feel safe, then we always advise them, you know, their safety comes first, so they are to, you know, take steps that they need to make sure they're safe, and then we'll come back and assess the safety of the child. But just really to be keen and alert and to observe their surroundings.
It's rewarding when you see someone as an adult you dealt with as a child, as a victim in a situation. They are now an adult. They're going to college, you know, or they have children they're taken care of. They're wonderful parents because what you did made a difference to them as a child.
I tell her I love her and thankful that I have her in my life every day, every time I see her.
I have a young man. He is 18 now. We've had him since he was 12. He was removed from a grandfather's home.
She just kept coming around all the time and, you know, talking to me about what's going to happen. One thing she never did to me is lie to me.
He's had a very rough life. Neither of his parents, they don't want him.
My mom and dad, they just had drug issues. Like when I was growing up, they were always in jail and just never there. I send her text messages and stuff, how thankful, and I send her long text messages, how thankful and how much I love her, and how much I look up to her and look at her as my mom.
He's had a lot of adults in his life fail him.
That's the biggest thing, because I've been lied to basically my whole life by my parents. She never lied to me. She was always there. She kept a beautiful smile on her face. That's what gets me.
To see him now and what the system has done for him makes the bad days worth it.
I just wouldn't be the kid I probably am today because the effect she's had on my life and how she helped me through things. And I can go to her, talk to her about anything. And I always say to myself, before I make a decision, what would Heather say?
I mean, we certainly can't perform miracles, but if we can make, you know, one by one, deal with things and chip away at it. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I maybe haven't saved the world, but I'm one step closer.